Yesterday we held our last faculty meeting of the year, and this is a meeting at which we honor our colleagues who are retiring, and I had the distinct honor of speaking about Coach Clark. He means an awful lot to me personally and professionally, and I hope that each of you has had a chance to have at least one really good conversation with him. If you haven't yet, I'd urge you to take advantage of the time that you have this week and look him up. You won't be sorry. Here are a couple of things that you may not know about Coach Clark. He loves a good Broadway musical. Not kidding. He was way into Wicked long before the movie came out. Just ask him, he may hum a few bars for you. A lot of you know that Coach Clark was a really good basketball player back in the day. I don't know if you realize how good he was. He was a great one. He played on some of the great Tennessee basketball teams of all time, Go Big Orange. And he was a tremendous shooter. He had a lifetime free throw percentage of over 90%. And I bet if we put one of these goals down right here, he'd probably make 9 out of 10 right now. You may not know that he is a fantastic dancer. I hope you get to go to a wedding where he's at the reception sometime and you get to see it in person. One thing that I think you all do know about Coach Clark is that he cares a whole lot about the rules. But you may not know that he really cares way more about you. And the rules are only a way to teach accountability, responsibility, and other things that will last a lifetime. No one exemplifies our school motto, Amat Victoria Curam, better than he does. As an old coach, nobody appreciates the full meaning of the word victory better than he does, and no one understands the relationship between victory and care, which is the root of that motto, like Austin Clark does. We've all heard him say, "You're on my team." That's a phrase we hear him say when he's in chapel talking about the dress code or some other things that we need to do that may seem minor in the grand scheme of things. He's the coach, we're the players, and you need to look the part to be on his team. I hope you realize, though, that he's simply reinforcing that we're all in this together. I hope you all hear that you are indeed on this team called Baylor, and as our speakers just said, we'll always be on this team called Baylor. It's nice to hear that he cares about us, he cares about what we do, he wants us to do the right thing for the right reasons, and ultimately he wants us to be successful. What Coach Clark ultimately shows us is that we can be and we should be all of these seemingly contradictory things that he embodies: hard but soft, old school and new, tough and caring, leader and also follower. He's shown all of these sides, and we should too. Without further ado, please welcome my good friend, Austin Clark.
Well, I'm sure this is probably the last thing you want to hear from me. You know, they change the schedule, so you're getting ready to go out to fun time, but yet you got to sit and listen to me. I learned something a long time ago: when you're doing a speech, you need to leave them wanting instead of wanting to leave. So I, like you, will be very short so you can get to where you need to be going. Because I've sat in those chairs that you're sitting in. Not as nice as these chairs, because I went to a public school in Roane County, Kingston, Tennessee. So that was not as nice as this, but I tried to get out everything I could get out of too. I'm no different than you. In fact, I ran into some of my friends that I played ball with at the University of Tennessee, and they were asking me, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I'm down at Baylor School in Chattanooga, Tennessee." "Ooh, what do you do there?" I'm kind of in charge of day-to-day discipline." You in charge of discipline? The things that you did, they put you in jail. I'm a little bit older now, you know? So when I get to talking about things, I want you to understand that I've been there. And a lot of you are 17 and 18 years old, right? You hadn't been 71. That's where I am. And so when I talk to you about different things that you should try to do to help yourself, you should try to do it. Because that's all I'm about, trying to help you. I'm sure I hurt some of y'all's feelings. Some ways I think maybe that's the coach coming out in me. I don't apologize for that because I was right. I used to have a quote in the annual that the people would say, says, if you think you're right, you're wrong, and it's Coach Clark. Because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you today. I've had a really great time here at Baylor. I did a lot of different things. When I first got here, I was the boys' coach in basketball. I also worked in the PE department, and we were all boys. And Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we had to do aerobic exercise. All right, we were dressed out. The teachers were too. They weren't just saying, hey, you guys go run around the track. We had to get out with them and run the mile, or to jump the rope, or my favorite, doing aerobic dance with 25 boys in Duke Arena, right? To YMCA. You know what that is, right? So that's something I did. I want to thank Dr. Barks, Herb Barks Jr. He's the one that gave me my job. I came down to Baylor one day. I didn't even know where Baylor was. I was in Knoxville, and I was working at Middle Tennessee State at the time, and I lost that job because I didn't believe what that guy was doing. So I was looking for a job. A friend of mine named Ronnie Carter, who was the head of the TWSAA for years. I met him when I was working in Middle Tennessee. I would do the hospitality rooms when they had state basketball tournaments. So he calls me and says, hey man, I see where you're out of a job. I said, yeah, and I'd just been married about a year. So my wife ain't liking that. He said, well, why don't you go down to Baylor? Baylor's lost their coach. He's gone to DeKalb Junior College in Georgia. He said, I can get you a job with that guy. I can get you an interview. I said, all right. So I came down on a Friday, met with Dr. Barks and Bruce High, all the bigwigs, Ray Deering, Lewis Rush, Joe Schmidt was the athletic director, and I'm sitting up in Dr. Barks' office, and they're just like a firing line. I'm sitting right here, and they're just surrounding me, and they're popping out questions. What can you do? What can you do? And I'm burning them. I am killing them. So when it gets done, I go home. I was living in Nashville at the time. My wife was still working, and I walked in there. She said, well, what'd you think about it? I don't really know. She said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, well, I'm Tennessee. I went to the University of Tennessee, and they were all kind of Vanderbilt. They were kind of, with the exception of Dr. Barks and Jimmy Dukes, they were kind of, snub. I didn't really like it that much. And she said, what are you going to do? She said, you think you got the job? I said, yeah, I think I got the job. I think he's going to call me. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she goes, we've got no job, which is pretty smart. So when Dr. Barks called me on a Sunday night, he goes, I got to ask you one more thing. Can you coach the golf team? I said, yes, I can. I've been coaching the golf team at Middle Tennessee State. He said, well, you got the job. I said, well, when do you want me to start? He said, tomorrow. And I came down and I lived in the guest house on the bottom floor of Lupton. I went to bed every night hearing the Lupton boys running across in the hallways. And I'd go back on Friday night to Nashville, and I'd come back on Monday. Discipline is not something that you do to someone, but what you do for someone. When I was coaching basketball, our teams dressed up. We all had red blazers when I was first here. So we wore red blazers on game days to announce we were playing a game. We didn't go up and say, hey, we're playing a game, come watch us play. We just dressed like that. And we went on the road to Nashville and places like that to play. We'd be in the red blazers, and we'd walk in there and everybody knew that was Baylor. And we were proud of that. I was proud of that. When I first got here and saw those red blazers, that's the first thing I did, was buy a red blazer. You didn't have to have one, all the kids did. We used to dress in shirt and tie, street shoes, pants, every day except Friday. And on Friday, they had the B-shirts. And now we've, kind of flipped it. Monday we dress, and the rest of the week we have it off. sign of the times. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. But I came from that era. I was coached like that when I was at Tennessee. Very disciplinary coach. And so that's kind of what I lead to. And if I've hurt your feelings during that time, I apologize. But not really. We had one play, Dr. Barks stopped. It was the best basketball play I ever called, but I never got to run. We were playing up at Athens in the regional tournament. Now, we weren't very good our first year. Basically, I had all juniors that became seniors, and they hadn't played. They'd been all on the B team, except for one kid. And so we played and we struggled, and we had like 9 and 17. And some of you may think that's bad, but I was worse than that. Several years ago, I was 2 and 19. But luckily, the next year we went to the state Final Four. But anyway, so we were playing up at Min County, and the way it was, we were the number 4 seed in District 6, and they were the number 1 seed. They were the champions, so we played them first night. And so we go up and down the floor, and we're playing it in there, but finally they get us, and we're 20 down. And so I called timeout with about 1 minute to go. Scott Wilson was my assistant coach, former headmaster here. He was in the missions. And he said, "Coach, have you been noticing those boys sitting over on the front row right across from you?" I said, "No, I'm worried about the ones I got." He said, "They're over there, and every time you get up to move and do a cheer like, 'Come on, let's go, come on, get in there,' they're doing the same thing right across from you. They're mimicking you." I said, "Really?" So as soon as I do back to huddle, and I'd get out of the huddle by saying, defense wins and execution. They go out there, and we run up and down the floor maybe one time, and I just kind of go like, "Hey, let's go, let's go." And I look right over at them, and they're doing, "Hey, let's go," making fun of me. One of the kids that was there had gotten kicked out of Baylor, so he was trying to get back at me. So remember, I was 28 then, and probably didn't think of the best things to do. So I called timeout again. Now we're down 25 and 30 seconds left to go. What the world am I doing? Well, I'd get the players together and I'd tell them, I said, "You guys see those guys over on the first row?" "Yeah." I said, "Okay, we're going to bring Sam up to the top of the key. We're going to throw him the ball." Sam was left-handed, and I told Sam, "Now you take that left hand and you turn right to that first row of the bleachers over there, and you throw a fastball in there as fast as you can. And we'll scatter those guys out of here," like that. Everybody's going, yeah, here we go. So I get down and I'm talking to him, I'm looking right up behind, and behind my team's bench was Dr. Barks. And he looked at me and he mouthed. That meant, "Don't do that. We're not going to do that." So I had to call him back and say, "No." So that was the best play I ever called that I didn't get to run. Then I moved on to become the athletic director here, all right? And I got that opportunity. I got to thank the coaches for doing that for me. They wanted me to be the athletic director. We lost the athletic director that we had, and so they went to Laird Davis and said, "We want him to be the athletic director." So Laird called me up and said, "Hey, they want you to be the athletic director. What do you think about that job?" And I said, "Well, I'll do that job, except I'm not going to interview for it. If you want me to do it, you know what I've done. This has been about 8 years I've been here. Then I'll take the job." It's not that tough a job. It's a very easy job from the standpoint of, one, you're here to help the kids, the coaches, and the administration. Pretty simple. And so I got that job. It was good. I loved it. My job was protecting the coaches sometimes. And one time I had a parent want to talk to my tennis girls coach. And the way I did things, I would bring them in there to my office where Sarah Lell's office is right now. That's where my office was. And I brought in the husband and the wife to talk about why her daughter wasn't playing. So I had the tennis coach there. So we come in, we say, "Hi, how you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. Shut the door, and the mother pulls out a legal pad and starts attacking the coach, saying, you know, my daughter's never going to play here unless she's blonde-headed and comes off Lookout Mountain. I said, well, ma'am, we're not going to have this conversation. You know, we're going to stop right now, and that's it. And she said, oh, no, we're not either. And, you know, the husband ain't saying nothing. And I said, no, it's over with. And so I got up in my chair, walked over, opened up the door, and she said, we pay your salary. I said, you don't pay a damn enough. And shut the door. And that was it. So maybe that's the reason why I kind of moved on up to somewhere else. Which I had those opportunities. The rock outside of this field house, we put that rock on right field to show support for our football team. They were having tough times, and when I became the head coach or the athletic director, I was wanting to do something to kick up spirit. So we went across the street behind that gasoline station. We pulled that rock off that mountain and brought it back down here. That rock, in case you want to know, is 15 feet underground. And the reason why we put it there like that, Macaulay had just the year before put a pig on our campus, and we had to chase it around for a while. So I didn't want them to get wise and think they could pull that rock out of there. So I put it 15 feet underground, so if somebody tried that, it would yank their axle out of their car. So that's why it's 15 feet underground. I'm driving into campus one day. Excuse me if I pause, because this is getting emotional to me. I mean, I hope I get through this. I know you're ready for me to get through it. But I was driving to work one day. It was a Baylor Macaulay week. And I looked up on this hill across where the gasoline station is. And up there was a big blue M. I don't care much for Macaulay. Don't care much. Beat him, but I don't care for him at all. So I pulled over my car behind the gasoline station, and I went up there now, and I'm fully dressed, shirt and tie, shoes, went up there, and I sit there and took my shoes and kicked dirt all over that M up there till you couldn't see it. And there were Baylor people coming back, stopping at the red light, you know, to turn left to go in, and they saw me up there, and they'd start honking their horn. I'd be up there going like that. Tore a good pair of shoes up. Don't care. Don't care. I love this school. I love the students here. Sometimes I'd be asked to lead a cheer for the Baylor Macaulay Pep Rally. Give me a B was my cheer. I would get into that. The athletic director's job lasted for about 16 years. And then I moved up to be assistant dean of students, my present job. I want to thank Shaw Wilson for finding me a place for me to work. I was still the basketball coach at that time, but I needed a real job. He was the upper school head when I got on the Hill. Thanks for the upper school heads that I've worked for during my time on the Hill. They are David Padilla, Cheryl Wang, and current upper school head Garrison Connor. People don't have any clue, and I'm telling you from my heart, they don't have any clue what those people go through. None. When I was down here as a regular student, as a coach down here, I'd be talking about it. Like, why in the hell do they do that? What is this? What's that? I think we could do a better job. Everybody thinks somebody else can do a better job until they're in the one that they think they can do. You know? I got up there on the Hill. It took me about 1 week to realize that all the people don't have a clue what those people go through. I also want to thank Elizabeth Burnett, Michael Clark, and last but definitely not least, Susan Griffith. She's going to be relieved when I'm gone. I'm not the best high IT person. No, check this out, will you? Do this, that. And she's good and she's patient. So I'm going to miss her. When I was in basketball coaching, I had about 12 to 14 students on the varsity team a year, and some 50 in PE classes. When I was athletic director, then it got to be bigger numbers of students I came in contact with because of the job. Now, as assistant dean of students, I'm in contact with the whole upper school. My job is to support the students, teachers in any way that I can help them. I will tell you this is my favorite job that I had. It's the favorite job that I ever had. I never felt closer to doing it, and I know you're saying he's crazy as hell. I'm not. I got to know a lot of you. I hope I helped some of you. And I don't worry about the ones I didn't help because they're going to come through later. I came through later. I didn't know early. I thought I knew it early. I didn't. I found it 28 years when I got to Baylor. And that's what I'm talking about. And the ones that, I didn't reach, I'm still here. I'd be more than glad to help you. But this is my favorite job. There's not a day that I come to work that I don't want to be here. You've been my team. You made me laugh through our conversations. Some of the things I heard was, I would tell a student, hey, tuck shirt in. And the student would say, oh, I just came from the bathroom, sorry. You just came from the bathroom and your shirt's out. I find that hard to believe, But I'd go with it because I'd say, okay, I'll give you this chance. I'll catch you next time. I'll double it. There were students that used to have an app. I don't know whether you still do or not, but they used to have an app to tell where Coach Clark was. And it may still be out there. Some of you are smiling or whatever. It may still be there. They tell him, hey, he's in the dining hall, he's in the quad, he's in the student center. That's all right. You know where I took that? I'm doing my job. So at least I can get them to tuck their shirt tails in when they know I'm around. I want you to know that I put my own son in detention. He rode up the hill during exam week. Teacher took him, brought him to me. I was sitting in my office. Teacher goes, hey, here's your son. I said, yeah, that's my son. What do you got him here for? Oh, he was driving up the hill during exam week. What are you going to do to your son? I'm going to put him in detention. What do you think I'm going to do? I said, it's going to hurt him because we're fixing to go to Nashville to Bridgestone Arena and see 2 college games. One, Kentucky playing Memphis, and Tennessee playing Oklahoma State. But my son is sitting in detention on Saturday night. And you know what else I'm going to do? My son's right there. I said, I'm going to call him at 8 o'clock when there's a break, see how he's liking it. That's what I'm going to do. My son never got in there again. But to this day, he talks about it. He come to the house one day. He'd been working with UTC. He wanted to get fed because my wife's a great cook, and he didn't have a wife or anybody else to help him feed. So he gets ready to leave, and he says, hey, Dad, we're going to go out. Me and some guys. I said, well, be sure and do the right thing. He goes, Dad, I'm 28 years old. I know what's going on. I said, well, let me tell you something. About 2 weeks ago, I went to my hometown, Kingston, to see my dad. He was 94 years old. My brother had called me and said hospice was in, and he's fixing to die. You need to come on up there. I said, all right. So I came up there, took my wife and my daughter, and they talked with him a while, and I went back there, and he whispered for me to come over to see him, and he goes, son, I want you to do the right things. I want you to be a good man, and I don't want you to worry about me. I'm going to go ready to see your mama. I kissed him on the forehead. He went to sleep that night. So I told my son, after he made that great statement that he's 28. I said, well, let me tell you something, son. My dad is 94, and he's still telling me what to do on his deathbed. So as long as I'm above ground taking nourishment, I'm going to do you the same way. And as long as you need me, I'll be there for you too. Same thing. You keep me young. I've been invited to do some special things with groups on campus. Community service. I was Santa Claus. It was great. The young boy told me, he says, you can't be Santa Claus. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you're skinny. You're too skinny. I said, well, you're right, but you see the movie, Santa Claus? The guy got more weight as he went through it. And the little boy says, oh yeah, that's it. I was in the play Legally Blonde, okay? Had a one line in the play. Great play. I was a jet pilot. Had a hat, everything. The lead lady in the play, she turned to me and said, thank you. And my line was, no, thank you. Worked on that a long time. I was in Riverfront skit night. We got robbed. Lawrence Hall pasta night, outstanding food and company. I've been in several of Mike Kelly's videos, always the character that is the bad guy and chases people down. I was invited to talk to the girls' soccer team last year in the locker room. It was one of the neatest things. I led the cheer, give me a B, for the soon-to-be and now two-time state champions. I drive around the campus a lot now, carrying injured students to class. One time I had a friend of mine say to you, don't you feel that job is beneath you? I said, no, I don't feel that way at all. I'm trying to help people, trying to help these students. We all should be doing that, helping these students, and I think these teachers do that. That guy is not my friend anymore. In fact, he's not even working here anymore. Not that I had anything to do with that. I sent tip of the weeks every week. It is something just to make you think. Like the first of the year would be something like, be sure and read your emails once, twice, 3 times a day. It will keep you in the know, on the go, and out of a hole. And I guarantee you a bunch of you hadn't done that. Because that's the first thing you say. Did you read my email? No, I didn't. So then you pay the price. I want to give you 3 quotes that are tips for a lifetime. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Adversity is not to make you bitter, but to make you better. And my favorite, there's a choice you have to make in everything you do. So keep in mind that in the end, the choice you make makes you. Y'all are going to be making some serious choices. You know, you're going to have to make a choice that you want to get out of bed and go to class. You got to make a choice to don't park in a handicapped spot. You got to make a choice you park where you're supposed to. Because it won't be Coach Clark calling you saying, hey, get up and go to class. It won't be calling you saying, hey, you can't park in a handicapped spot. It's not going to be me talking about dress code, because they're not going to care how you dress. Makes no difference to them. You know what I'm saying? Those are just some of the choices you're going to start making. And you'll make it. You'll make it, because you come from good stock. I want to leave you with 2 things that's set on my heart for the longest. And I know you're tired of it, and I appreciate you listening. It means a great deal to me, because this is my last chance. It's funny that I used to be in this building forever. Ever. This is my place. And then I went up on the hill. And now I'm back to where I started. That's pretty special. And And the 43 years that I've been able to deal with the kids like you has been special. I came into Duke Arena one morning, little boy is Monday, little boy, 6th grader. He comes busting out of the door up there in Duke Arena lobby. He comes running at me. He's got his tie in his hand. He goes, "Hey, mister, can you tie a tie?" I said, "Yeah, I sure can. I can tie a tie. I've tied some for you guys." But I put him here between my legs like that, tie him up. I said, "That'll take care of you." He turns around and goes, "Thanks, mister." Takes off running, hair's, sweaty. I'd like to know what his name was, because I promise you, he's got to be 30-something and 2 or 3 kids. You know what I'm saying? Special times. It's not about winning games. It's about you all. When I have people come back later and they say, "I get you. I get you what it's about. I know I deserve that detention," then that's what it's about. This last one, had a young lady, she had terminal cancer. Some of you probably heard of her. Kennedy Griffith, she was a freshman. And she wanted to come to Baylor. They had a Make-A-Wish thing. And she, Scott Wilson made that happen. She came to Baylor. And she came in August with terminal cancer. Her leg was amputated below the knee. What she had such a great personality. I'd be taking her around to class and carrying her book bags to her, getting her on the elevators. I did it. I loved every minute of it. She had such a great attitude about life. And she's terminal. She's going to die. She just didn't know when. Okay? She didn't know when. Convocation. I'll bring her down here, get her set up in a class. We get finished, I take her back up on the hill. She said, "Coach Clark, I want to ask you something." I said, "Sure, Kennedy, what is it?" "Oh, not ask, excuse me, I take it back. Tell you something." She wanted to tell me. "Okay, go ahead." She said, "Baylor is pretty much what I think heaven's going to be like." I don't see how you can have a bad day when you think of her. I went home that night and told my wife, smack me if I ever say anything. Heaven is what I think Baylor is to me. And heaven to her is Baylor. And she's up there looking down. I appreciate what she did all the way. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and you don't have to do anything. I was going to use it and play song, but I listen to people, and several people told me, "Don't do that. They won't get it. They won't get it. They're ready to go. They're ready to get out of here. They're ready to go." Well, I left you all in your little bag, if you hadn't looked, a little card from my favorite quote on the back. You've got that. And if you want to take a chance, I do like music, as Shaw said. This song, old school song, Frank Sinatra, "I Did It My Way." This is the first verse of that. If you get a chance, you want to take a laugh, hear that song. Take the time to listen to it, because, back then it was all about men. We have strong women on this campus. Don't ever doubt it. And they'll stand up tall, and they'll do what they're supposed to do, and they'll be there. All you got to do is look at when they speak in chapel. Everybody has an equal opportunity. They step up. So don't think this is just for a guy. It's for you all. Because you're going to have to make decisions that you're going to have to do. And now, the end is near. I face the final curtain. My friends, I will state my case, of which I'm certain. I lived a life that was full. I traveled each and every highway. And more, much more than this, I did it my way. I love each and every one of you. God bless you and best of luck, Coach Clark.